Right now, while I'm recording this video, the sun outside is setting, and I really hope we are in the midst of dismantling an old system of inequality and brutality. And finally, for the people, by the people, we're going to rebuild an America where Black lives really will and actually matter. There's been quite a delay on my end in terms of making this video, and that's because I really needed to listen first. So I've been quiet because you need to be quiet while you listen. I marinated over a hypothetical thought. What if George Floyd, Philando Castile, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor was literally my blood sister or brother? How would I react? I think the difficult truth is I would react with guns blazing. I'd probably scorch the earth and rain down hell until justice was served. And what if it wasn't one family member in one isolated incident, but my people over and over and over again when I finally have power in numbers on my side? What is the justice I would demand for 400 years of the same history over and over? I think when you put yourself through that thought experiment, you will be able to empathize with the large scale protests, the anger, and why there's so much rumbling that the ground beneath your feet is now feeling unsteady. And if you don't empathize and feel the same anger in your own bones, then doesn't that beg the question, maybe you don't see Black lives as that important? In terms of the pro bono legal work I've been doing as of late, I've been trying to help the casualties of war, trying to help them get their businesses back up and running, filing insurance claims, and listening to one tragic story after another. And this isn't about sides or politics. I just mean people, all people, and mostly people of color, Blacks, Indian Americans, Chicanos, Asian Americans. I bring that up to contrast that with what I want to talk about, which is how the Black Lives Matter movement plays out in the tarot, witchcraft, commercialized online spirituality, and also book publishing industry. Because there are a lot of issues to talk about, but they feel almost silly to be talking about when people are dying and socioeconomically the vast majority are now in the red. But nonetheless, given my niche, after listening or doing my very best to, and then processing the information, I think I'm only equipped to talk about how the BLM movement can improve these niche communities that I occupy. We talk a lot in the tarot community about diverse racial representation in tarot card images, but I don't even know if that's what I care about. I care about more Black representation among deck creators, the real people, not the drawings of people, the real people, and how they can actually get financially enriched in this community. Let's Google tarot books together. So how many of these are actually by Black authors? Now let's Google tarot authors and see what we get. How many African American writers do you see in this listing? Let's try our luck with tarot deck artists. I see the Modern Witch Tarot, but this is by a white woman. This is not by an African American tarot deck artist. So if we scroll through this for tarot deck artists, Courtney Alexander of Dust to Onyx fame is the only Black artist that we see on this listing. However, if you're active in the tarot YouTube community or tarot on Instagram, there are a lot of Black tarot content creators.
I mean, in fact, they're huge. Hundreds of thousands of subscribers, almost 1 million views on some of their videos, hyperactive engagement, quality content on educational tarot. And bear in mind, in the little niche tarot world, those are really big numbers. These people have much bigger platforms than all of the non-Black tarot authors currently getting traditionally published. Black tarot content creators and also Black consumers of tarot oracle decks, tarot services, proportion-wise, make up a huge pool in this industry. Huge. But where is their representation at the top of the food chain?
Why is there this disparity? I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't want to speculate without any research or data, but I do know, and I can say, that this needs to change. Black lives do matter, but here I want to be even more specific. Black voices in these online niche communities matter. They're producing a ton of content, but they're not getting traditionally published. What we're getting at best is Black representation in tarot cards through the white gaze. Now, actually, Gina Thies is a pretty big name in the tarot world. She's a well-known psychic tarot reader. She produced the Tarot of the Moors through Schiffer Publishing, and she published a book also through Schiffer, Tarot Coupling. But she didn't show up in the search engine algorithm. And sure, we can talk about the flaws of the algorithm and SEO, but I still think some difficult truths are revealed through that algorithm. Now, another biggie, performative allyship. I think this issue is more complicated than we give it credit for being. And I'm about to maybe put my foot in my mouth or get you quite riled up. I don't know, but I think these uncomfortable interracial conversations are what we can do, what we need to do, since someone like me can't rectify social inequity, but I can participate in the discourse. First, there is this quasi-hostile peer pressure for white and non-Black content creators in our spirituality-based communities to participate openly, visibly in the Black Lives Matter movement and to almost show receipts to prove they're doing something to participate, even when, if you think logically about what they're doing, it doesn't necessarily productively help the cause, like the Black Instagram square. And it does become quickly apparent that a lot of this visible, public, superficial support or lukewarm, half-assed allyship is bull. And then these content creators get called out for performative allyship. I just want to acknowledge that there is a lot going on here. One, I do believe, and I give the benefit of the doubt, that a lot of non-Black content creators who do sincerely want to be allies are doing their best. The problem is the best coming from a sheltered, protected, privileged view of the world and race relations means their best is going to look kind of. I think maybe what needs to be done is not so much demand that they speak, but to demand that they listen. Don't ask for Instagram squares or hashtags or sharing memes. Don't ask them to show receipts for what they've done for the benefit of the Black community. Ask that they listen and learn about how they themselves have benefited from the Black community. I think learning about and truly realizing the deep extent of Black contributions to our society inspires gratitude, love, and ultimately social change at the interpersonal level. Here's the crux of the divide. When you're white, or heck, let's bring in colorism. When you're a POC, but you're light-skinned, so you move through the white dominant world a little easier than dark-skinned POCs, you have the luxury of thinking about race as a political issue. But when racial inequality is your everyday lived experience, and hell, it's not even hyperbole to say matter of life and death, it's not political. It's literally quality of life and it's human rights. That, I theorize, is the ground zero. That's kind of where the ground fractures and creates the divide. So back to our little niche community, because realistically, that's about as far as my voice can reach. Diverse representation on the physical images of a tarot deck is all well and good, but that doesn't get to the heart of the matter. Something totally doable and that will have, I believe, a profoundly productive effect is if non-Black, traditionally published authors, and this is going to be using venture capital lingo, open up their Rolodex. That probably is dating me. and welcome Black authors and artists to reach out personally and directly to them so they can pass along their queries and submissions to their editors at these publishing houses. In other words, I think something very concrete non-Black authors in our community can do is bring Black authors into the inner circle. So, for example, what I can do is pay attention to Black aspiring writers who email me and let me know about the books they've written and trying to get published, or their tarot decks, so I can pass that on directly to the editors at Llewellyn, US Games, Wiser Books, Hay House, and my publisher, North Atlantic Books, so that you can get a backdoor access to opportunities rather than having to go through the slush pile. That very simple, minimal commitment can change the industry and maybe help increase the number of traditionally published Black authors and deck creators. I definitely can't do it by myself, but if all of my colleagues committed to that, then I think that can make a real difference. I guess I'll end with this remark. 2020 has been a year of exposing social systems of racial inequality. The COVID pandemic, for example, became what it became because of unequal access to healthcare. And if you didn't realize that the pandemic was tied to racial inequality, or at the very least, implicit bias, then maybe you haven't been paying attention. So, because the universe always likes to hit us over the head with a hammer of signs and omens, the killing of George Floyd happened, just in case you didn't get the message the first time around. So, you know, maybe pay attention to what the universe is trying to tell us.